listening to 98.3 FM WRLR LP, Round Lake, Illinois.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Lake County Sports Scoop on a great July morning here in the Round Lake Studios at Round Lake Beach Metro Station, of course. I'm your host, Carson Beck, and you're listening to the Lake County Sports Scoop on 98.3 WRLR, the voice of Lake County. That was a great selection by Kashmir, but maybe I should have played Hotel California for maybe some of our WRLR colleagues like Rusty Silber, who usually sits in this chair, who is out in California. Right, Rusty? Don't you agree? A more fitting intro to today's show should have been Hotel California, because you're out all the way on the Pacific Coast. How are we doing today, Rusty?
Where did you say I am? Hotel California? No. I'm actually, I'll even make this more interesting. I'm in a town that says Lake Forest right now.
What are the odds of that? So you're back?
Well, it's strange. I don't know if you've ever been to California or not. There's a Lake Forest, and next to that is Deerfield.
Get out of town, really? You're making this up.
No, I'm serious. You look on a map, you will find Lake Forest and Deerfield outside of Irvine. They're right next to each other. Gee, is that the same thing in Illinois?
I think they maybe copied us. I don't know who was the state first. I think Illinois was, but geez, that's really. I wonder if those two play in the same conference for high school sports. If that's so, my mind might explode.
But I don't think it's similar to that.
But anyway, Rusty, we're in for a great show today. Here shortly, as you know, and the listeners will know shortly, we'll be talking to Warren girls soccer coach, the head coach of the Blue Devils, Ryan McCabe. He'll give us an update on how his Lady Blue Devils are competing out on the soccer field, and then we'll hear from Fidel Garcia, who also coaches at Warren, the varsity assistant boys basketball coach. We'll get some insight from him, and then we'll close things out with you, Rusty. So a lot going on in Lake County. Before we talk to Ryan McCabe, as you know, maybe our Mundelein listeners know especially, did you know, Rusty, that today is the bicycle race, Mundelein Grand Prix, going on in Mundelein today? We were over there back in 2021.
Well, you didn't tell me anything about that. That's why I cycled myself further west than handling anything I can do at Mundelein today. Right,
but that's a pretty big event. They have usually a lot of different, competitive fields for that, and we saw them 2 years ago when we were doing this exact show live from there, and those guys were zipping across, and it's a little dangerous, some of those sharp turns, but just for some activities for people to do. I'm pretty sure it's already underway, so they can be listening to our show while enjoying the race, and maybe while enjoying the big show. And this show and the big show will be different without you, Rusty. We know that. I believe it's Lou and Norm will, as opposed to Rusty and Ron, will be the big show right after this.
Well, that's because we got the pinch hitters working tonight. That's the key thing.
That's right. But Rusty, do you think we should get a hold of Ryan McCabe, or do you want something to chime in before we get the Warren girls soccer coach?
We can try to. Well, I could say this. The reason why I'm not in studio today is because I'm on assignment in California, part of a soccer tournament. I did this 4 years ago in Hawaii. I'm doing the same thing in Carson, California, which, by the way, it's AYSO, but it's a national tournament. 292 teams are taking part in this event. And you might remember Landon Donovan. You know that name, don't you?
Yes.
he was a U.S. soccer player, and he when he started playing soccer, he was part of AYSO. So I know a lot of people talk club and everything else like that, but this tournament has a core and it has like a club side to it as well, with 292 teams that are involved in that. So it's going to be a busy week. I don't know why I got myself involved to do 4 matches a day. Let's just say by the end of the week, I might be crawling my way back to Chicago.
You know, Rusty, that location that you brought up actually rings a bell, not because it shares the same name as me, but I remember Carson, California, when after the Rams moved out to L.A., that was a location that was being flirted with for the Chargers and Raiders to share a stadium. They've tried getting NFL teams out there, and I remember you told me earlier this week that you might go see a L.A. Dodgers game. I told you to maybe sneak out and get Caleb Williams' autograph at the beautiful USC campus. Maybe you can drive by the Rose Bowl Stadium. So you're in the heart of sports, Rusty. You're spoiled.
Well, actually, right now I'm en route to the LA Galaxy Stadium. We've got our opening ceremonies tonight for 5,000 people that are going to be attending this. And our games start tomorrow. Yes, I'm going out to Dodger Stadium because I'm kind of on assignment. I'm going to see if we can get an interview with a former high school pitcher from McHenry.
Holy smokes.
Bobby Miller pitching for the Dodgers. And he got his 6th win, I think, on Saturday, pitching really well since he's been called up from the minors.
5,000 people.
So kind of catching up on him.
5,000 people at LA Galaxy. Is that definitely the biggest crowd you've been in front of as a referee during your short stint so far in your referee career, Rusty?
I wouldn't say that's big crowd. It's just this is the opening ceremonies for the tournament. We got so many teams. I was in Hawaii at 170. This is 292, and all the referees. Since I'm a referee, we're going to get decked out, get dressed out there, make ourselves look good. But you know what's going to happen? You think we're going to get fanfare? No, we're going to get a lot of boos. You know how referees shake it.
Yeah, you're the refs, and unless you're making the right calls, you won't get cheers. You know that. But let's see if we can get a hold of Ryan McCabe. Stand by, Rusty. Let's see what the Warren coach has to say here.
Hi, this is the Google Assistant. Can I ask what you're calling about? Your answer will be...
It looks like we didn't get a hold of Ryan McCabe immediately. We'll give him an attempt here shortly. But Rusty, going back to what you were talking about, refereeing soccer, the LA Galaxy Stadium, that must be probably like maybe that's him right now, I believe, potentially. Yep, let's get him on. Hold on, Rusty. Ryan McCabe, how are we doing today? Welcome to the Lake County Sports Scoop.
Doing great. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing good. I'm going to get Rusty back in here for the conversation. Give me one moment. 1 second. Let's see, Rusty, I got you in. Let's see if I got you with Coach McCabe. Rusty, can you hear Coach McCabe from California?
I think I hear him. He's not in the mountains like last week, but I hear him now.
No, I'm back in the Midwest now.
Well, welcome back, Coach. And I know you got a lot on your plate coaching your Blue Devils. I believe you might be working with them and camps on their way. Given that we're only in July right now this year, what have you learned about your team so far, and what are your main focuses as summer camps underway for soccer?
Well, this will be now my second day working camp this year. Like Rusty mentioned, I was out in Denver at the beginning when we started camp last week, but really what we try to do with our camp is just focus on the style of play that we like to play at Warren. You know, just starting at the youth level, really hitting home on some of the foundations that we like to teach. Obviously, passing and receiving the ball are two of the really big items that we focus on. Because if you can do that well, then that opens up the door to do many, many things well. So those are some of our focuses. Obviously, we get into the more high-level play as the players get a little bit older and as their skills develop. So it's been a really nice camp. We've got the largest camp that we've had in possibly ever since we've been hosting it at the high school. So it's really nice to have a bunch of kids out, and they're working hard and getting after it, which is great to see, especially right before the boys season.
Coach, you mentioned teaching the fundamentals. I know, especially at the high school level, it can be a little tricky teaching new concepts or any fundamentals for that matter, depending on if the makeup of your group, if it's mostly younger players that weren't here last year, you got to teach them your system, and might be a learning curve. I know I've talked with other coaches. If you have a more veteran team, they can kind of pick up where they left off last year, and you can kind of keep building off things. How would you maybe describe your body of team based off upperclassmen and returners, and who are maybe some of the players that you're looking forward to so far?
Well, I'm in a potentially a unique situation because I'm the varsity assistant for the boys, and so that's what our focus is now. Mm-hmm. But then I'm also the head coach for the girls, which is in the spring. So I think we're at two different spots in those two teams. The boys, we do have a good core group that are coming back, but we are looking to add some new faces to the roster that'll give us a little bit more punch, I think, as the season goes on. And so just getting those guys kind of caught up to speed. Luckily, like I said, we do have a good core group of guys that are they're good guys. They work hard. They want to be successful. They do a lot of the things that you do need to do to be successful. They do a lot of work on their own. And so that's really important as we go into the boys season. On the girls side, I only had a few seniors who graduated, and so I have quite a few girls returning. And then again, we have a really quality group of young players who are coming in. And so it's kind of similar where a lot of the girls who are returning have heard our fundamentals, have heard us talk about how we want to play, the style of play that we like. And so now it's nice to see them also helping those younger players kind of understand how we do things, what the expectation level is. And so when they meet up in the spring, there's going to be hopefully a little bit less of a learning curve because they've already been through it for a week or possibly 2 weeks of camp.
Coach, it's a very unique situation, having one group, the girls be more veteran, the boys a little maybe on the newer side. For both teams, for that matter, given that you coach both teams, who are maybe some players that might be captains or stars or that you're looking forward to on both teams that you have?
Well, for the boys' side, we have a good group of seniors. Lucas Ahonen is one name. He was Chicagoland Soccer All-State last year. He's returning. He's the captain. He's the head coach's son for the boys. So being a coach's son, I think that adds a little bit maybe more criticism or pressure, but he's a good kid and he handles it really pretty well. We also have some other guys who are coming back who were on the team last year. Jack Elkington, he's a nice player to have around. We have several guys who are coming back that are going to be give us good quality minutes. Chris Croson, he's another senior who's been on the varsity team since his sophomore year. He's gotten a lot better. Diego Torres is another senior who's been with us for a little while. And these guys have put in the work in the off season and have really kind of risen. And it's been very apparent to me because, working with the girls, I don't necessarily see them in club throughout the year. And so when I get to see them from last fall now to this summer camp, it's great to see how much they've grown. On the girls' side, we have a rising junior, Addison Stanziak. She was had several accolades this last year. Illinois High School Soccer Coaches Association All-State. She was Chicagoland Soccer All-State. She was the Body Armor Sports Series MVP. She's All-Area in a couple different publications. So she's a great player to have around, really strong player. And that was just for her sophomore year. And like I said, we have a really strong now upcoming junior class. We had a handful of freshmen last year that are also going to be sophomores now this year that are really solid. So again, just having some of those returning players, and another junior is Maya Martinek. She's a solid player in the back for us. Sophia Ogren, she's a junior now. A really quality midfield. So a lot of these girls were, just kind of cutting their teeth at the varsity level this last season, and now going into what will be the 2024 season, we have high expectations and high hopes that we can make a deep run in the playoffs.
Coach, you mentioned a lot of players who have been exposed to various experiences and impact your team in various ways. Are any players on either team, for that matter, looking to maybe potentially play soccer at the next level in college for both boys or girls? And if so, where?
Yeah, definitely. The recruiting process is different for boys and girls. Girls tend to commit a little bit earlier. I know Addison has had several talks with coaches. I've had some other girls, some seniors who've had some talks, and it ranges from, high-level Division I programs to mid-level D1, Division II. It kind of, we have a nice range of coaches that I kind of network with that reach out and want to hear about our players. And then on the boys' side, I know Lucas is looking to play some college ball as well. He's been to some ID camps. But I mean, like I said, for the boys, it's not uncommon for the boys to not be committed until after their season for the high school, their senior year. Whereas girls, most of the time, because it's a spring sport, they've already committed prior to their high school season. So it's a little bit of a difference between the two.
Coach, lastly for me, and then I'll turn it over to Rusty, given that you're still in the early stages of summer here, I know a lot of sports, like, for example, football does 7-on-7, basketball does summer leagues. Does soccer, whether it's boys or girls, arrange any sort of summer leagues or scrimmages with other schools to kind of give you a little taste on what your competition's looking like?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. For the girls, it's called the North Shore Summer League. It's a lot of schools from the North Shore area, going from New Trier, Evanston, both Glenbrook schools, all the way up, up by us and Lake High School. So it just kind of runs the gamut. And then you go a little bit west as well to get some more schools involved. We'll play for 5 weeks. That's usually mid-June through mid-July. And it's a great way for the girls to kind of have a good experience for, their first experience of their incoming freshmen for what high school soccer is like. For the returning girls, it's nice for them to play, and it's in a not overly competitive environment. Everyone is there with the understanding that we're here to get better, for sure. But, there's nothing really on the line. So everyone has really embraced that this is a learning experience. And then on the boys' side, very similar. They'll play, I believe, twice a week usually. And again, that's for 5 weeks. So they'll get a handful more games in. But again, that's leading into their season. And then this past weekend at Warren, we hosted a tournament where we had, let's see, I believe it was eight teams that were involved. So everybody got, or 10 teams rather, where everybody got 4 games. play for 2 25-minute halves. You do keep score. There's no winner, but you just kind of, it gives you an opportunity to play different schools. And it's been a really nice tournament for us to host these last few years. We have some teams from our conference, and then we had Lyons Township come up. We had Naperville Central come up this year. So it's nice because, again, like you said, you kind of see where other teams are at. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, everyone is, again, trying to focus on getting better and getting ready for the upcoming season.
Coach, I know you don't want to look too much into those summer league matchups. As you said, it's primarily for fundamentals and kind of seeing the strengths and weaknesses of your team and other teams. Given the small sample size that you've had so far, compete against those other schools for both boys and girls, who maybe seem to be some of the top competition, if you will, or the upper echelon teams maybe in the conference or the county that you've seen so far?
Well, it's a little bit tough because with soccer, it's a little bit peculiar because it's technically still their club season. So, mm-hmm. I had several girls who missed a week or two because they were at club nationals or they were playing at a Midwest regional event or what have you. And the same thing is true on the boys' side. So you don't necessarily get a true understanding of who's available, who's there, and can really break people down. That being said, for the boys' side, Maine South looked really good. They looked like they had several of their players at the tournament this past weekend. Naperville Central is always going to be a good team. They had some really nice, it looked like they had a good mixture of older and younger players there that played well together. So those two teams that I got to see this last weekend at the boys tournament, I was impressed with those schools. And then on the girls' side, we played Glenbrook South. I thought they had a couple of nice teams that I got to see this year. Who else? Oh, Evanston. We had a really nice game against Evanston. Both teams played really pretty solid. It was just good soccer on both sides of the ball, and so that's kind of what we're looking for, and hoping that we'll get these good competitions, these good games as coaches, trying to help our players grow during the summer as well.
Absolutely. Rusty?
Well, it's funny that Coach McCabe brings up a lot of these players, and I don't know if he's going to like my question or not, but Coach, how much has the club players changed what we see in Lake County over the last, handful of years?
I think club soccer is vitally important to the success of high school soccer. I don't think that there's too many times, back in the day, you would have kids who could come out and have limited soccer experience, but because they were athletic, could kind of, get through it and have a solid season. I don't think you're seeing that nearly as much, and I think that's due to the quality of the clubs that we have in the area. They do a really good job from a young age teaching fundamentals, raising the level of the sport in our area, and I think you're starting to see that as we've had lots of success on the boys and girls side, especially up here. For the girls this last year, Libertyville's been downstate the last couple of years. And when Libertyville played Barrington in the semifinal, I think there was 18 or 19 girls on the field at one time that all played for the Libertyville FC 1974 club, at different age groups. So, I'm obviously a fan. I think it's great whenever players have an opportunity that they can play for a club and also play for their high school. I think it's tough whenever they have to choose, but at the end of the day, the kids have to do what they think is best for their playing career, or if they want to play college, what they think they need to do to help themselves out. But I think the raising of the level of our clubs has only helped our high school programs.
Going off that, Coach, do you ever use club soccer, or maybe the athletes more or less use club soccer maybe as a way to scout their opponents or look at potential matchups, or would you maybe say club soccer is more or less used to enhance an athlete's resume for being recruited by a college?
Yeah, I think both platforms have value. I think it's very important to play for your community, play in front of your friends and family. That you get that opportunity quite a bit at the high school level. You're walking through the halls, you've got your jersey or your shirts on, your practice shirts or whatever. And people take notice, and so there's a whole sense of pride. But that's also true on the club side of things, where you do have a good sense of pride in your club, but you maybe don't get necessarily the recognition or the attention from that club sport. But a lot of times I will I'll go into a game and I'll do my recruiting, and I'll or my scouting rather, and I'll kind of look at what I see from the other teams, and I'll come into a pregame meeting and I'll give my rundown, and then I'll open it up to see if anybody has any questions or any comments. And a lot of times, players are like, oh, well, I've played against this person in club, and here's what their tendency is, or this person is on my club team. Here's what, he or she likes to do. And so a lot of times, I think what you would say has value. A lot of times they know who they're playing against, even before, the coaching staff does, just because they've either played against them or they played with them, it is a lot of fun to play against your club teammates, which, in the high school season. So I think that does add a little bit of interest to some of those games as well.
All right.
Hey, Coach, I just want to throw in here, what are the numbers like in the boys and girls programs? Because I know the boys have been pretty good. I know their girls have been outstanding for several years. The runs that you had against Libertyville, Stevenson, seeing you three teams end up in ties for a few years was a lot of fun. But what's the program numbers like for each boys and girls right now?
So this fall, we're expecting to have 5 levels for the boys again this year. And then for the girls, these last couple of years, we've been at 4 levels, which is good because when we came back from COVID, we were down to 3 levels. We scraped together to get to 4. But this last season, we were comfortably at 4, which was great because we gave everybody an opportunity who wanted to play. They had a team, and they could be a part of the program, which is great.
All right, Coach. We appreciate you coming on and giving us insight on both your boys and girls team, and we hope you're having a good camp. And also thought about you when I saw this. I hope you're also enjoying some girls World Cup soccer as well whenever you have some free time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The nice thing about the camp starts nice and early, so I get up early and I'm able to catch at least a half, if not a whole game before I go to camp. And it's great because, I think a lot of my players are doing the same thing. So I appreciate you guys having me on. It's been fun. But yeah, definitely been watching some World Cup games or highlights and enjoying that, sharing that experience with my kids as well.
Awesome.
Hey, Ryan, who's your favorite going in? Are you sticking with the USA, or who else do you think might be a good challenger?
I think it's got to be USA. They're on top. I think they're going to be tough to beat. I know they do have quite a few injuries, but it's not the first time that they've run into some tough situations. They come out strong. So we've got a nice group of young players mixed with some veteran experience. I think it's setting up for us pretty well. And England did not look very good the other day when I watched them. So I think that bodes well for us as well.
Come on, Rusty, that was a no-brainer. We're Americans. I think.
Wait a minute.
I think Coach wants to see.
It's not. But Carson, it's not the USA. You got to keep tabs on Sweden, Germany, Canada. Don't forget, won the Olympics last year. You know, there's a few other teams you got to keep an eye on. You just don't know what's going to happen down under. I mean, Australia might surprise us too.
I think Coach is more hoping for that one of these days one of his players will be on the national team. And given all that talent he was telling us about, wouldn't be surprised. Coach, thanks for talking with us today.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on, guys.
All right.
All right, take care.
Thanks. See you guys.
All right. That was Coach Ryan McCabe, and I think now we're going to try getting a hold of Fidel Garcia before we hit the break. Rusty, I'll get a hold of you soon after we talk with him. Let me try getting a hold of Fidel Garcia. I'll talk to you soon, Rusty.
All right.
And that was a great soccer combo from Warren head coach Ryan McCabe. And let's see, Coach Garcia, how are we doing today on this July Monday?
I'm doing all right. I'm just a little busy, but glad to be on.
Coach, I know a lot of us know you for your basketball insight, of course, but like we mentioned at the top half portion of the show, many people may not know that you are a bicycle enthusiast as well as a fan, and Lake County's fortunate enough to have the Mundelein Grand Prix going on. Maybe give some insight on what exactly is a Grand Prix and what people can expect today with the bicycles, and maybe if you even know some of the bicyclists that are out there competing.
Yeah, so the Grand Prix, very similar to a kind of a league. So it's think of it like a tournament, and there's multiple tournaments that go on. And you know, you when you win, you collect points, almost kind of like NASCAR. It's almost exactly like NASCAR. So you win, you collect points, you attend the Grand Prix, the different races. And you, as a team, you try to collect points. As an individual, you try to collect points. And at the end, they crown a winner. This one in the Chicagoland area is the Intelligentsia Grand Prix, which is one of the top crit races in the country. I think people need to understand the difference between, you know, what you see in Europe with the Tour de France and the Giro and La Vuelta. Those are stages, and in each stage, the winner goes to the person with the lowest amount of time throughout the entire race. And you know, you could win a stage or two and still lose. You could win no stages and still win. But those races are a lot longer. You know, a lot of times they go from 80 to 150 miles. And then I think the biggest difference would be the level of elevation that you're going to get out in Europe compared to here. These crit races, they're kind of like a, they're 1 mile laps. A lot of times they're circular, but a lot of times they can change directions. You can get minor elevation, but it's dangerous. It's fast. It's about an hour. Now the pros go for about an hour and a half, and you're going to go about 27 to 30 miles per hour average, and these guys will top out in the low 40s during their sprints. So one of the top teams in the country is a team out of California called Legion. They have two Latin American Hispanic gentlemen, two brothers that kind of lead the way. But they have other guys, and then on the girls' side, they also have a young lady who we actually had an opportunity to interview. I'm drawing a blank on her name, but she's out of Milwaukee. She's kind of the star for their women's team. But, you show up, they have the Cat 5 levels, Cat 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1 being the pro level. They'll have they'll have a junior level, they'll have an amateur level, and then they'll have that for both genders. Mm-hmm. So it's an all-day event, and typically the pros will go at the end. And, for guys like me that like to cycle, that are enthusiasts, it's nice to see, guys at the top of their game up close and personal.
Yeah, Coach, I liked your analogy that you gave with the Tour de France, and that's kind of good that you said this is kind of points-oriented like NASCAR. But I think one of the differences, correct me, between Tour de France and what we got going on in the Grand Prix is the Mundelein Grand Prix is more laps, circular, kind of like NASCAR, like you said, but Tour de France is more of like a very long distance marathon, correct? That might be a difference. Grand Prix is more laps. Tour de France is kind of more distance marathon style like.
Exactly. So, and it's a little different. It's a different discipline. An American rider would probably struggle with a Tour de France because of the elevation, because of the distance. I think it's safe to say that the best riders are doing the Tour de France. The best riders are, but that doesn't diminish what the American style. And it really is kind of an American style. You got a lot of Latin American teams involved, a lot of Latin American foreign cyclists on teams. And it's just a different kind of discipline. It's quick, it's intense, and whereas the Tour, it's very strategic. You got a long distance. There's a peloton, which is basically just a big mass of riders. And then there's a team that kind of shields and protects their GC guy, which is their general classification guy, the guy they're trying to get across to win the race. And then the crit is like I said, it's quick, it's intense. Your heart rate's racing. You're going 180, 190, 200 beats per minute. You're just all out for an hour and a half. And then you're traveling from town to town. Right now they're kind of all over the Chicagoland area. I want to say there's 11 or 12 that they're doing. And if I'll tell you another thing that's kind of nice is I had the opportunity to watch it at Mundelein, and they're actually they're going to have an event here in my hometown in Brookfield. So I'm going to take my kids on Wednesday, and we're going to go check that out. So that'd be interesting.
Coach, I know you mentioned there's different levels of competition to this between Tour de France and what's going on here in Illinois. Even though they're different styles and maybe the competitive gap might be different, would you say some of the winners that we see both here at Mundelein and Brookfield in this competition, if they win for X amount of years, do you think this experience can maybe use as a stepping stone in their bicyclist career if they want to throw their hat in the ring in a Tour de France or a more global competition?
That's a great question, and that's actually a question that I wondered myself early on in my cycling life, and I quickly learned that it's so different. It's imagine playing basketball half court, and that's your discipline. Mm-hmm. And then now you want to go full court, and you want to play 82 games. So I would say if you're really young and you're doing crit racing and you're looking to step up, I think it's possible maybe. And when I say young, I mean maybe in your teens. It's something that you do just to kind of get into that stepping stone. But it's just a whole different level. These guys are at the European racers are. It's just a completely different level. It's a different style, and to be honest, you don't get many American riders out in Europe because the sport isn't as popular. And the other thing I think that's pretty obvious is, unless you're in California, unless you're in the Rocky Mountain area, maybe even out east a little bit by the Appalachians, you're not able to train in that level of elevation, and that's the biggest difference is the elevation. When you're in Europe, there's the Alps, there's the Pyrenees, and these guys are as a young kid, you're able to train and get used to those types of that type of riding. Where here in the States, it's just something that's just not possible. So there are some really good American riders. There were 6 that were in the Tour de France. I would say the best American rider right now is a gentleman out of Colorado, a.k.a. the Rango kid, Seb Kuss, who was a part of the championship gold jersey team, Jumbo Visma. He's a really good rider. There's some other guys. But if you look where these guys are from, they're all from California. They're all from out west. A few are from the East Coast. So, like I said, there's just something about living around the mountains and riding at an early age that just kind of creates and molds the difference between someone that can handle a crit ride and someone that's going to go and climb 12,000 meters over the course of 100 miles.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about where you are geographically because obviously when Illinois we're cut off wintertime, which cuts off your reps. I didn't think of that. Coach, lastly, before I let you go, is there anyone in the Grand Prix that's competing today that you're looking for on Wednesday that they're excited about? I know you mentioned a name from 2 years ago when we were there.
Yeah, I follow the Legion team out of California, but there are some other teams. There's the Miami team that's got some pretty good Latin American riders. But when I go, I just I kind of try to just enjoy the skill set and the energy that it takes to ride and crit. And to be honest with you, everyone kind of likes to see a little bit of a crash. I know that sounds crazy, but
right.
It's kind of like NASCAR. People like seeing those kind of intense moments, and it happens. And sometimes it's dangerous, but it's also kind of cool to watch.
Unlike NASCAR, they don't get as much protection. It's just your body and your bike. So I was always holding my breath when they made those sharp turns 2 years ago. But Anyway, Coach, good having you on. I assume that you're probably enjoying riding your bike the summer, and who knows, maybe one of these days we'll see you out on the Grand Prix.
Probably not, but maybe you never know.
All right, sounds good, Coach. Enjoy the summer and enjoy the day and have fun on Wednesday.
All right, talk to you later.
All right, thanks, Coach. That was Fidel Garcia, our great WRLR colleague who contributes to our show on a frequent basis, as well as the Warren Blue Devils Varsity assistant boys basketball coach. We're going to hit a break, and we'll get a hold back with Rusty to close out the show. You're listening to the Lake County Sports Scoop on 98.3 WRLR, the voice of Lake County.
WRLR 98.3 FM.
Hey everyone, it's Norm, and every Tuesday afternoon, 3 to 5 Central, I'm coming right at you here on WRLR. Let's share some information. Have lots of fun. We'll play plenty of music as we finish the business day in the office or take the drive home. Stream the net, WRLR.FM. 98.3 FM is the voice of Lake County on the radio dial. Join Norm Tuesdays, 3 to 5, right here on WRLR.
Wake up and text. Text and eat. Text and meet up with a friend you haven't seen in forever.
Hi. Oh, hey.
Text and complain that they're on their phone the whole time. Text and listen to them complain that you're on your phone the whole time. Text and whatever. But when you get behind the wheel, give your phone to a passenger. Put it in the glove box. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Ronald Curtis Grace, host of the Ear Candy Emporium Show right here on WRLR 98.3 FM. Join us every Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Central Time. We'll share some great music, have a laugh or two, and get your weekend started on the right note. That's the Ear Candy Emporium Show, the home of sweet musical treats. Every Friday afternoon from 4 to 6, right here on WRLR 98.3 FM and streaming live on WRLR.FM. See you then.
Attention high school sports fans, are you an armchair official? You know, the parent or fan who constantly yells at the referees and loves to let everyone know just how bad you think they are. Well, if you think you could do better, then get in the game and prove it. It's time for you to suit up and make the calls where they actually count. Every sport in Illinois needs more officials. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
Brighten up your lunch hour with Yesterday Once More with Stan Koenig. Stan plays all your classic favorites from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Simpler times when music was music. These are the songs you fell in love to, the music that inspired you, and most importantly, the songs that make you smile. So turn back the clock by tuning in to Yesterday Once More every Friday from 9 a.m. till noon, right here on 98.3 FM WRLR.
WRLR 98.3 FM.
And welcome back to the Lake County Sports Scoop here on a Monday. Here in July, you're listening to the Lake County Sports Scoop on 98.3 WRLR, the voice of Lake County. Let's get a hold of Rusty, as we had some good conversations in the top half portion with Ryan McCabe, the Warren boys and girls head coach and boys assistant coach, and Fidel to close out the hour. Rusty, welcome back. Can you hear us, Rusty?
Yeah, Carson.
Hey, Rusty, before we talk a little football to close out the show, did you know that we have some breaking news from one of our Lake County legends? It's on the basketball side. Of course, does the name Justin Smith ring a bell to you from Stevenson?
I do remember that name. He had a great vertical, too.
Right, yeah, Justin Smith, part of those great Stevenson boys basketball teams. I think his last year was the 2016 season with Stevenson, and then, of course, he went on to Indiana and then Arkansas. Last year, he was with the Delaware Blue Coats NBA G League. Yesterday, he actually just signed with an Israeli Basketball Premier League team. He just signed with the Hapoel Holon Playgrounds Holon of the Ligat Halai League. So, long story.
Can you say that one more time, Carson? One more time. Say it again.
Hapoel Holon Playgrounds Holon. There we go. Of the Ligat Halal. So
where is that located at?
Israel. It looks like it's in. It's in Holon, Israel. There we go. That's where the name comes from. Okay. Purple and gold are the colors, and so he just signed it. I saw he was promoting it recently, so I thought, hey, that's one of our great legends. He was definitely won the North Suburban Championship at the minimum with Stevenson. But yeah, I remember him with his time at Stevenson, of course, Indiana. I think he was part of a March Madness team too when he was at both schools. But yeah, great career. He's going from the G League to an Israeli league. You don't hear about that often. You usually hear about players going to Europe as opposed to Israel. But congratulations to Justin Smith.
Well, maybe he'll find his way back, here locally, and maybe a professional team will sign him up.
Maybe we'll have to go to Israel and cover a game. How does that sound, Rusty?
Fine. Okay, you can take the lead on that one. All right.
All right, and we'll pay for it out of Rusty's pocket. So
my pocket, no. Take it out of someone else's pocket.
All right. Well, Rusty, last week we talked with you talked with Round Lake head coach Matt Milazzo with Dominic Pavel while I was out 10,000 feet up in the air in Maui. But and the last time you and I were together here in studio, we were talking a little more North Suburban Conference a little bit. And, I thought to myself, I think given that we talked to Round Lake coach Milazzo, I think we need to give some more to Northern Lake County teams some love. And when I'm looking at the schedule, first off, we gave Wakanda a shout out a couple weeks back, but Lakes, a team that was 4-5 last year. Since COVID, they've struggled a little bit, especially getting back to the playoffs. And 4-5 is usually knocking on the doorstep of playoffs. You and I usually look at Lakes as a team that challenges Antioch. The conference has usually been dominated by Wakanda and Antioch. And I see Lakes is playing Lake Forest and Vernon Hills. Remember, Lake Forest had a down year, 3-6. First time they missed playoffs since 2005. And then Vernon Hills, they started, I believe, 0-6. That was a down year for them. I expect both of them to bounce back, but I also expect a little bounce back from Lakes, maybe a chip on their shoulder to get back to the playoffs. What do you take from the Lakes Eagles, given that they're playing two Lake County teams to start off the football season?
Well, it's hard to make judgments so early. And, of course, everybody, I don't know if you realize, but we're sitting 4.5 weeks away from opening day on August the 25th. August 7th is the date you keep in mind, circle the calendar. That's the day they can start practicing and getting the jerseys on. They'll start getting the pads on later that week. But we'll see. I have talked to a few people. Lakes did lose some people to graduation. I would think if you look anything, you got to look at Antioch, Wakanda to be the front runners at this point. Grace Lake North and Central had some good years, but I think they had some losses too. So I don't know if they're going to be up there. I know Lakes lost some players to graduation. So can they be in the mix with Antioch and Wakanda that are like juggernauts in that conference? I don't know. I don't know if they can match up with them, to be honest.
Rusty, that's a good point that they brought up. It's just strange because I'm scratching my head a little bit. Playing Lake Forest week 1, usually I consider Lake Forest a perennial challenger in the North Suburban, but them going, I believe 3-6 and definitely missing the playoffs was kind of a shock to me. And I'm thinking this might be an interesting game for both teams to start out the year. And then Vernon Hills, remember, they had their rival, Deerfield, switch over to the Central Suburban League South. And quite frankly, Niles North, they're okay. Maine East has been struggling over the years. And I guess the only other recent division champ in that conference has been Maine West. That's been a non-Deerfield or Vernon Hills. So you ask yourself, is Maine West Vernon Hills challenger? Will Vernon Hills bounce back? And I think they do. I think Vernon Hills has been competitive, and I think Lakes is going to have to probably split this opening non-con if they want to give themselves a chance of getting back to the playoffs.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting year. It's so early. It's hard to make predictions. You can base it on graduation. You can base it on 7-on-7s that they do in the summertime. You hear a few things about that, but until you really get the pads on to understand what's going to happen, week by week, you're really not going to know. I mean, you go with the juggernauts, you go with the teams that had outstanding coaching. I mean, Wakanda, Kate Mills stepped down, and Chris Braca hasn't really lost anything to what's going on over there.
Oh yeah.
I give him a lot of credit. And just think Wakanda almost went to a Barrington coach And they decided, no, we're not going to do that at all. We're not going to jump on that whole situation. And they decided to stay in-house with Chris Baca, and that was a great move for Wakanda. They played quite well last year.
You're right. I think if we want to pinpoint Wakanda, I think really since COVID, really, they've kind of been a whole different program. 2019, they were not a playoff team, and then from there, they've kind of ran the table with the NLCC, and now I'm excited to see them switch up their non-con from previous years. Now this year they'll have Hinsdale South and Canelan, and that might indicate to me that Wakanda's a different program. They're not just focused on squeaking into the playoffs or getting a first-round win. They may be in for a deep postseason run, but Rusty, we're running out of time here. Before we hop off to the big show, I should mention, you said 4 weeks away from regular season. Don't forget, we are 3 weeks away from when most of these schools do their scrimmage, usually on August 18th. So you can probably catch teams out there, too, if you want to get a little taste of football. But, Rusty, I'm going to let you go. You're only facing 3 o'clock out there. But out here in Illinois, it's time for the big show, and it's with Norm and Lou. So, Rusty, I'll let you enjoy California, and so long. See you next Monday.
All right, so long.
All right, that was Rusty Silber. I want to give a shout-out to Warren soccer coach Ryan McCabe for talking with us a little soccer, as well as Fidel Garcia giving us insight on what is going on over with the Mundelein Grand Prix bicycle race. And, of course, I thank Rusty for taking some time out of his busy soccer referee schedule. From Carson Beck from Round Lake Metro Station, so long, everyone.
WRLR 98.3 FM.